For a long, long time, probably as long as I've been alive, compensation to a buyer's agent has been listed in the MLS, and not much more is that going to be happening. So how do we know? How do we know what we're going to be making as buyer's agents? How do we know how to inform our buyers on that particular property, what it's going to be? And probably more importantly, how do we make that a solid deal? How do we memorialize basically what is the compensation going to be? Christian, talk to us about that.
All right, you're going to hear me eat my words because for years, Patrick, you now teach code of ethics. I taught it before you, and I beat the drum over and over again, which I'm sure you do too in the class, of not putting compensation in the contract. That's not where it belongs. And guess what? We are eating our words because that is where we want to memorialize it now. Going forward, we are going to be putting compensation into the contract, and that is where we want the compensation to go. That is probably, we've moved the source of truth really from the MLS into the contract. That is the form that goes to all parties, right? Not only between buyer and seller, listing agent and buying broker, buying agent, but also to the lender, to the title company, to the appraiser. We know for sure that information is getting to all of the appropriate parties and that we can count on being paid out of settlement at the end of the transaction. So without putting it into the contract, or at least attaching it to the contract in some type of an amendment or addendum, you can't have any assurance. So we can't rely, Patrick, anymore on just word of mouth or a text message or a phone call. You really need to memorialize it and put it in the contract.
Yeah, I love what it says in the Realtor Code of Ethics. Cooperation does not equal compensation. I threw up on the screen a sample of what it could look like, at least in the proposed forms where it's on the numbers page of the residential real estate contract, for instance. And that shows you that it's going to be a line item. Got to do a little bit of math to figure out what that's going to be as part of your buyer's offer. But it'll be important to show up in there. Yeah, Christian?
It will be. That'll be critical. So as we go through these changes over the next couple of weeks and even moving forward, make sure, whatever side of the transaction that you're on, look at that and make sure that what's in there makes sense, and make sure that you're presenting that when you present the offers to your sellers. And hopefully you all are doing seller estimated proceeds. And that's where you look to see what number do I need to put in there, so we can show the seller a good solid net as they're getting offers in, so they can make a good solid financial decision. But that's where it needs to go. And Patrick, you're right. We beat that drum too, but we're not putting those words back in our mouth. Cooperation does not equal compensation, and that is more true today than ever. So.
Yeah, I felt like I was going to go to prison by putting commission in a contract in the past. But now that's where it's going to be. See, the world changes a little bit. One thing that you made me think of that's going to be important is, as a listing agent, checking out what that dollar figure is on a buyer's offer. Because I don't know about you, but I've known an agent or two that's bought a refrigerator because they forgot that little piece maybe listed in inclusions or additional terms. And so when we get an offer on our listing, we've really got to be careful to study that and make sure that we catch everything that's written onto it. So important now more than ever. Christian, thanks for your time today. We're going to keep going because we have got some great topics that you are going to want to know all about as we go into the next few weeks. So stay tuned. See you soon.